What's up, fellas? Another episode of the Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of bgobsession.com. Just a couple of friends pouring a cold one, talking football. If you've never been here before, please feel free to join in. You can find us on all major audio platforms, on all major socials, youtube.com, and, of course, at the mothership, bgobsession.com. Fellas, impressive game on Sunday. It was a lot of fun to watch. Or Saturday, I guess. But we don't have to get too much into that. I guess, John, you're back after missing a couple weeks, so I'm curious. What is your feeling? I'm going to throw it right at you, buddy. The big topic Bob and I talked about was Jaden Daniels, so I'm curious. Where's your head space on the whole Jaden Daniels situation?
As far as not playing, you mean? Oh, yeah. I've been a bubble wrap guy for a while now. And I know, I respect you. Derek has a different Derek's, I know from reading on the board, Derek kind of feels like the game experience is invaluable, which I can't really argue against that because it's a good argument. I just feel like at this point, if he's not 100%, and I just don't think he is, it's just not worth risking him, blowing out his knee or his labrum or whatever, or his Achilles or anything else. And then we're talking about like not even being ready for next season, if he were to have a major injury. But I can see the other side of it. I mean, if he was fully healthy, as other people have pointed out, it's like you don't sit starting quarterbacks who are fully healthy ever. I mean, you just don't. So I get that argument 100%. But I think in this situation, where he's had two major injuries already. I just don't think, I think Peters probably stepped in and said, let's just not, this has not been a particularly lucky season for us. So let's not tempt the gods any further than we've already had lots of bad stuff happen. So anyway, I'm not really looking forward to watching Josh Johnson, or let's see, who do we sign this week? We re-signed Jeff Driscoll, bumping right over Sam Hartman. I guess and I did hear Kingsbury say today that Hartman's never played. So I think that's the reason. Yeah, well, that's the reason he gave. I was thinking it's because Hartman can't throw a football, but from what I can tell. With any kind of velocity on it, but I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm with it.
Then to further that point, you said you think it was Adam Peters that stepped in and said something. How do you feel about that? Because that's been another topic of the board, is for some reason they've completely forgotten the last 30 years and they want the owner to now step in and start making personnel decisions, which I think is absolutely laughable and something that I could never endorse. So I'm happy that doesn't happen. But I think of it.
I mean, and I'm just throwing shit at the wall. But I mean, I think if Peter stepped in, I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, that's our biggest asset since he came to town, right? Is Jaden Daniels, and so I'd be perfectly fine if he said, "I don't want him playing anymore."
What about Harris?
I know some people don't like that either, but to me, that's not. I don't think that's inappropriate, but that's just my opinion. What do you think, Bob?
I don't think it's inappropriate for Peters to be part of that conversation. I'm of the opinion that if Harris was part of that conversation, we have a problem. I think the decision should have been made between Peters, Quinn, and Kingsbury, and that should have been the end of it. And then Peters informs management, this is what we're going to, ownership, this is what we're going to do. I hope Harris was not involved in that decision, but I've seen several members on the board go, if I were the owner, well, shit, man, we've had that kind of owner for 30 years. I don't want that kind of owner. I want football guys making football decisions. Let the owner worry about the new stadium. Let the owner worry about DC politics. Let the owner worry about making payroll.
And I give Harris a lot more credit than that. I think Harris is too smart a guy to go anywhere near something like that.
Same. I think that as well. It just frustrates me that to paraphrase what Derek said, the number of fans that seem to have forgotten the last 30 years of Washington history and what it's like to have an owner that owns an NFL team and thinks you can play fantasy football with it. I live in the capital of fantasy football at the NFL level here in Dallas. I mean, there is no other owner in the NFL, certainly, and generally speaking, not in any other sport either. I mean, I can think of a few in soccer and Major League Baseball, but for the most part, owners hire professional talent evaluators. They don't do it on their own. And I can tell you, watching Dallas fans down here just twist every single year. And the only person they have to blame is the owner. So, I want Harris to stay out of it. I think he did stay out of it. I would be really shocked. I'm with you, John. I just don't. I think Harris is smarter than that.
Well, I think we've entered the I am watching the games, but I'm kind of like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of like, I'm cooking dinner. I'm chopping stuff. It's kind of like almost like a background, I'm watching, but I'm not watching. So I was
That's what
excited.
I did on Saturday.
I thought they did a really good job in the first half. I was impressed in the first half, but and I'll tell you somebody else that I think I did not give this guy enough credit, and that is Chris Rodriguez. That guy's running his ass off, and it may not always show up in the stats, but I've been really impressed with him the last 3 weeks plus, because, and much more so than the rookie, who I'm not beating on Bill at all, but man, Rodriguez looks like he wants to be a starting running back to me.
Same with McNichols. It seems like every time McNichols has about 5 or 6 plays a game that you just look at and you say, "Wow!" Like,
and they're starting to throw the ball at him too, which is kind of exciting.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like what I keep thinking is, man, if we had a passing game, we might be making some noise with that with those guys in the backfield. But I think we still are suffering. And I know people have been beaten on Kingsbury, but I mean, Kingsbury, this is like the second or third game in a row where we've had more rushes than we have had passes. So, I mean, he's certainly trying to run the ball.
It's not only the second or third game in a row. It's like this entire season. If you look, they actually flashed something, if I'm not mistaken, during the game of his pass run ratio, and it's like not even close. And that's something, John, that you were trumpeting that last year, where you're like, calm down, guys. He's not a throw it around the field.
Oh. Yeah, he definitely isn't doing the Eric Coryell thing. I think Derek froze up on us.
Yeah, he'll be back here in a second. No, he's not, and he didn't last year. Although by his own admission, he does periodically forget that he can run the football. And I think you see that in a more like a drive by drive kind of a thing. It looks like he gets tunnel vision a little bit. Maybe Anthony Lynn walks over to him and goes, "Hey man, you got running backs, right?" Or maybe Dan Quinn's in his ear going, Hey, we got a whole sheet of running plays.
I think the one thing I've seen a little bit of that is, I get the frustration with, is we've had a number of drives over the last month where we got down into the red zone by pounding the ball and having some really good run plays, sometimes back to back run plays. And then we get down there and we throw it 3 times and kick a field goal or attempt a field goal. So I have seen some of that, which I don't know I would love to hear him asked about that.
I saw him today in Minneapolis.
Yeah. I saw him, I don't know if it was today or the day before, but Cliff was doing his press conference, and man, I feel bad for him because he's being asked all these questions and he's like, I mean, I got to choose between, a third string quarterback and a guy we just signed off somebody's practice squad. I mean, what do you want? I can only do so much.
So has Mariota officially been ruled out for this weekend or for this
I don't
Sunday?
think so. I
Thursday?
haven't heard him be officially ruled out, but he hasn't practiced. So usually, you get to Wednesday and the guy hasn't been on the field yet. That's usually, and I never heard whether he just got his hand mashed and like cut up or whether anything was broken. I
don't think anything was broken. I heard it did require stitches.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But I haven't heard that anything was broken.
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I think while we've had stretches this year where the passing game didn't work, we've also had stretches where the passing game looked really good. I would remind everybody that Saturday we played like the number one passing defense in the league. They've got some really good cornerbacks, maybe the best cornerback group in the NFL, playing in Philadelphia, and they've traditionally done a pretty good job against this offense the last 2 years. I was really surprised that McLaurin had that big catch. That's typically, although that was I don't know where you were in cooking dinner when that happened. It caught me off guard. I think I was in the middle of chopping onions, so I had to, wipe my eyes off so I could catch the replay and see what was going on. But that was a heck of a read by Mariota to go, hey, wait, he's not covered by the number one guy.
Yep.
That's where we're going. And they just they pick their moments. And I think they've done a fairly decent job all season long of picking their moments. There's just been some days where it felt like guys weren't hanging on to the football. Last year we talked a lot about how Jaden was benefiting from the fact that nobody was dropping balls.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Like there were incomplete passes, but there were incomplete passes because the ball was uncatchable, not because it was hitting guys in the hands. We've seen some sure-handed guys drop footballs this year.
Debo's dropped quite a few.
Debo has. Zach Ertz dropped a fair few of his. So I mean, it's not. I don't think our quarterbacks are getting the same level of help from the receiving core this year that they got last year, and that makes a big. Now maybe the ball's not in the same place. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, right? But
But I will say this. I mean, first of all, and again, I haven't been on the pod in almost a month, but I have been. You cannot deny that, like, the minute Terry got back and got in game shape, the first couple games were a little rough, which I don't think we should be shocked by that. And when he's not playing with the consistent quarterback. But anyway, he makes a big difference. I think we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that. Like when he's in the game and he's in game shape like he is now, he makes a huge difference. And even I was counting up Debo, McLaurin, and Burks combined. They had 13 receptions total for 120 yards. And that's another guy, Burks, that he looks like he can. I mean, he's obviously got some major talent. He almost made another circus catch, like the one the week prior, that ridiculous, probably the catch of the year, and he almost made another one.
Well, and he had a second circus catch that he completed. It was called a completed pass on the field, and then they pulled it back for holding. I mean, the ball was just, he had it by nothing but the fingertips. Now, granted, he had both hands on it, but he did not have palms. It was all the tips of his fingers at a full stretch. And I watched that kid lay out for that and come down with it. And I thought, you know what, that he may be the signing of the year.
Yeah.
I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I'm a little excited.
Yeah, especially because we got him for nothing, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but Tress Way had a hell of a game. He had 5 punts for average 44 yards a punt, 2 inside the 20, and he's our only Pro Bowler in 2020 in 2025. But I don't think anyone's shocked by that by any means. But he had a really good game. Sorry, Derek. And then the other person
with the feed here, buddy.
I wanted to mention Chris Moore because I don't know what his background is as far as being a return guy, but he did a really good job on Saturday. 5 kickoff returns, averaged almost 25 yards of return. Didn't he took one shot? I don't know if you remember the one I'm talking about, but he took one. Well, maybe that was the punt returner, but anyway, I think he's done a really good job. And then the D for a half, the D did a really good job. They forced 2 fumbles, but it just all fell off. What happened in the second half is exactly what we should have expected, which is the better team, took over the game, and that was that.
I think you only get so many. I don't know. This is going to be. You only get so many snaps against Philadelphia, and what I mean by that is sooner or later, the weight and the fitness of their offensive line just starts to take over a football game. And you're trying to rotate your defensive linemen. You're only going to get so many snaps out of your starters. And that's when you start to see a guy like Saquon, he's no longer getting tapped behind the line of scrimmage. He's not getting touched. He's getting touched 3, 4, 5 yards deep. And that type of guy, 3, 4, 5 yards deep, is well on his way to double digits on a single run. There were a couple of plays I was really disappointed. Felt like we had him in the backfield. I want to say Kinlaw had a handful of him, and Saquon just kind of ran away from him. It was really, I'm like, dude, you've got the opportunity to stop. Was he the MVP last year? He was the league leader in yards, but I think no, he wasn't the MVP, was he? Josh was.
Allen won the MVP last year, right?
Yeah, Josh Allen. But he was frankly the premier weapon in the NFL last year, and you had an opportunity to drop him 3 yards deep behind the line of scrimmage, and he ended up getting 10.
Well, and the thing too is, you try to stack the box and stop Barkley, and then Jalen Hurts rolls out for runs for 20 yards. I mean, it's really hard to defend against that. You got a guy that scares the hell out of you in the backfield, 2 guys that scare the hell out of you in the backfield, and so it was tough. But.
Well,
go ahead, Derek.
The other part of this game, sorry, I'm late in the conversation here a little bit, but the other part of this game is that watching it, and yeah, there was difficulty, but I also look at it and say, this wasn't. If we had entered the season with this roster, we probably would have expected these results, especially against a team like Philly.
That's fair.
I'm watching Saquon Barkley 7 yards downfield get hit by 3 guys, and he bounces off and goes in for a touchdown. Then you look at those 3 guys, and they're like, we didn't actually want them to be on the field with any meaningful time, right?
Yeah.
Like, so look at a lot of the things with that, and it's like, come on, but then again, what do you expect if this is a team you're going to roll out there? If that was a team that you believed was your day one starting team, these are the kind of results that we would have expected from that team.
Yeah,
I don't really want to be this guy, but that was some of the worst officiating I have ever seen. I mean, there were so many table calls. They took a potential touchdown away from us. Well, they gave Philly a touchdown. That should have been interference, and then they took one away from us, basically. Which was nowhere near as much contact as the Philly play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were just bad call after bad call.
The offsides on the field goal against Tyler Owens, it was clearly not offside. It wasn't even close.
No,
like it was so bad.
There were some phantom holding calls where they're playing the replay, and it's like there is no foul. That's not there. There's nothing.
That field goal attempt, Derek, I was standing in the middle of my kitchen screaming at the screen. I mean, they showed the lineup, and even the announcers missed it. The announcers didn't even go, oh, look, I don't know where they got that from, because he was clearly off the ball. And they call him for encroachment, which means you've got to be into the ball. I'm like, I don't know where this came from.
And wasn't in the neutral zone. He did not jump early.
No,
he did not.
The one where I lost my mind. I mean, I kind of like, as I was cooking and watching, I'm not going to get too excited in our 4-win season about the injustice of it all. But the one,
why not? Come on,
The
John.
one that really got me fired up, it was in garbage time. Well, beyond garbage time. It was, okay, we successfully convert a onside kick, something that's like what, 15% of the 5%? I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah, it's
We
ridiculous.
actually pull off a successful onside kick, and they take it away because the fat ass official can't get out of the formation quick enough. I mean, that drove me out of my mind. I'm like, are you kidding me? What?
Derek will tell you, I was texting him about the pass interference call that should have been called on Burks in the end zone early in the game.
Where he's clearly holding his arm down.
Yeah, clearly.
That's what I was referring to.
Right.
And then,
yeah, clearly holding his arm down, and he had his other hand on the ball. And all I can think is if he had both hands out there, that could have been 6, right? But I'm like, all right, I'll let that go as long as we're going to call. And then what? 2 quarters later, they call a ticky-tack pass interference on the goal line against us that was nowhere near as egregious as the holding on Burks. I mean, could you call it pass interference? Yeah, I guess technically, but in the NFL, you watch that happen on nearly every single play. That kind of stuff happens on nearly every single play. And they decide to call it, and I went, yeah, there's no home cooking here.
I mean, I thought it was ridiculous. And then that virtual, I don't know what they call it, but where they automatically review something using some kind of technology, and they still seem to get it wrong half the time. I'd almost rather just have humans, infallible.
What kills me is the technology they claim to use is they have multiple cameras positioned throughout the stadium, and it can supposedly artificially intelligence isolate the ball in the location. Why don't you just chip the fucking ball? Sorry, pardon my French. There's an easy way to make this happen is that you put a chip in the ball, and you put a chip on one down marker and you put a chip on the other down marker, and if the chip that is in the ball crosses the chip in the down marker and it breaks the plane, there's a little green light on the down marker that lights up. I mean, it's not, I don't understand what the sophistication is, and it seems like just like the stupid.
Well, I guess the thing too, and I don't know what the rules are, so I mean, I confess ignorance to that, but it just seems arbitrary when they use it, and it seems like it gets used on our borderline plays more than our opponents for some reason.
Right, and so if you take my theory, and I'm gonna soapbox this thing a little bit. Take my theory where you have that thing, it lights up green if the chip crosses and then you can go back through and frame by frame isolate a replay, and you can tell clearly where the knee is down or the body part's down. If that little green light isn't lit, he hasn't crossed the line yet. If the green light isn't lit or is lit and he's still up, it's clearly breaking the plane. I don't understand why they can't utilize it correctly. It's stupid.
That's the kind of game where you want to sit Roger Goodell down and just say, watch the game, man. Watch the game and look at this officiating. Would you not be irate if you were a fan? It's just all over the goddamn place, excuse my French. And I mean, I just think there's no excuse for it.
I don't think there's an excuse for it, but I think, for 30 years, we were not a particularly good football team, and the ball never bounced our way. And I always thought that there was some type of connection with, between being a bad football team and the ball never bouncing your way. And last year we were a good football team. And I think all of us can agree that several of those games, we got the rub of the green. We got some decent luck with the officials. We got some calls that in years past we wouldn't have gotten. Now this year we're back to not getting the calls. And
Snyder's not our owner anymore, so there's no fucking excuse.
Well, but that's not it, Derek. I'm not sure Dan Snyder had anything to do with it. Now that I'm watching things, I think there is a bias among the officiating crews, and I think it's completely unconscious. Please understand, I am not accusing anyone of intentionally doing anything. I think it is an unconscious, subconscious bias for the team with a significantly better record, with a team that's headed for the playoffs versus the team that everybody knows is going to be on the beach by the end of January. And I think the officials see things differently, predicated on that type of stuff. They're not supposed to. Every single one of them would tell you, no, we don't. But after being a fan of this football team for 40 years now and watching it under Gibbs when we got lots of calls that other teams bitched about, and then the lean years with Snyder and the merry-go-round of coaches and the record of, gosh, are we going to get to 500 or not? And not get the calls. And then last year where we had a pretty good football team that was surprising the world with a rookie that was lighting everything on fire and getting the calls. It just feels like there is a collective unconscious bias. I can't think of another way to put it. I really can't, because I don't think the officials set out to do it. I believe every single one of those guys wants to call a good game. I really do. I think
you think it's more like that umpire calling balls and strikes when the team is down 5-1, and that its strike zone expands a little bit, and it's the top of the ninth inning, and it's like, you know what? Let's be real here. Like, you know what I mean? What are the chances?
Or, stop and think about it. For, to keep that analogy, the strike zone got a little bigger when it was Derek Jeter at the plate, didn't it?
Yeah,
I think watching that happen.
It got a little smaller. It got smaller.
I think all you have to have done. All you have to have done over the last 5 seasons is watch Kansas City play every weekend. And you pretty much can confirm what you just said, which is
and New England under with Tom Brady there, New England.
Yeah, the NFL. It's like the NFL darling effect, and it's like, so I buy what you're saying quite a bit. But anyway,
but to be clear, I don't think there's a memo that goes out. Right? I'm not saying that.
Fair,
I just think it's a bias.
But
well,
I
do
one of the
think,
things we saw.
I'm not saying this is a factor, but I do think now that there's legal gambling, it does make me more concerned, not even in this game per se, but when you see some really questionable calls, it does make you wonder sometimes, like, is this something more nefarious than just favoring?
Look, as loud as I've complained about it too, I will hold on. But we did see, and just to play the other side of this thing, we saw something called this week that we hadn't seen called before, and that's a false start on the guard on the tush push. So that's where I believe there's a little bit of hope, because that was something previously that was not called. And the guard moved on the tush push, and they actually flagged him for a false start. And that's worked against us for a long time. So I agree with you, Bob, because I've lived it. I look across the landscape of the NFL. I just think it's been poorly officiated. And it's been that way for a while. And it's not just exclusive to us. There are bad calls, missed calls, blown calls, things that you look at. There was one the other night that somebody went to swat the ball and they grazed Justin Herbert's helmet, and they called it for a roughing the passer because he made direct contact with the head. And it's like, come on, man! Like, at some point, you got to be able to play football.
Is it just me, but or are we seeing a lot more, like, in terms of the placement of the officials in the game? It just, maybe I just haven't been paying as much attention in previous seasons, but they've done something where that official is like right in the middle of the offense as they're trying to set up and holding up the offense a lot of times. And just like, and with the onside kick play where he actually interferes with the conduct of the play after he's blown the whistle. It just seems, I don't know what they're trying to do as far as like moving the officials closer into the action.
Yeah.
But I just don't like it. I think they need to back off and not, you shouldn't be seeing multiple plays a game where the official is in the way of somebody or slowing an offense that's trying to go hurry up that way down because they're not ready. I just don't like that trend, but maybe I'm just more focused on it this year than I have been.
I think it's been a slow burn. I think it's been coming to this, and we've been seeing it for a long time as a fan of this team because we've witnessed it, and a lot of teams witness it. But it is not something that I don't think this is something new to this year. We have watched the degradation of the officiating. We have all screamed and yelled about. I don't care if you're wrong. I just want it consistent. If you're going to be wrong against us, be wrong against them in the same way, right? Going back to baseball, if you're going to call that high strike, you better call the high strike against them just like you call it against us.
Yeah.
We can adjust to the moving strike zone, but we don't want to be having to chase a paper bag in the wind because it's completely unpredictable. Meanwhile, the other team knows exactly what their lines of officiating.
Well, I know what my dear departed dad would say about the officiating complaints. He would say, "Don't suck, and then you won't have to worry about what the officials call."
Don't leave it in the hands of the officials. Yeah.
Don't if you're good enough where the officials can't beat you.
The problem is, like Bob and I have talked about multiple times over the last couple of weeks, the difference between winning and losing can be a couple plays that shift it so far in one direction or the other that there's a blown call in the middle of the first quarter can change a momentum so far that you lose control and you don't. I mean, the talent level is so close in the NFL, it's hard to overcome that.
Well, is there anything else about the Philly game that we want to wallow in, or do we want to move on to the epic clash upcoming?
I will say, I don't know if you guys touched on it when I had gone MIA for about 7 minutes, but I think it's bananas that we had 2 guys ejected, and the one guy who threw the actual punch, Sanders, still didn't get ejected.
Yeah.
I was happy to see no suspensions came down, but obviously it meant nothing.
Yeah. That was a little.
But these guys.
Yeah.
It was a little ticky tack. It was a little unnecessary. It was a little frustration bleeding out. But if there's a silver lining I can take from it, the guys care. These guys give a shit.
Yeah.
They want to win the damn football game, and I think that's something that they have always wanted to do. And we saw it when we beat New York. This team is frustrated. They're angry. I think a lot of these guys, you see a lot of the professionalism in them, and they're laughing and joking and doing the things to be an NFL player. But at the same time, they care. And that's a good thing. Does that translate to wins and losses? I don't know. You can try to quantify that in some way. But what I don't want to see is people roll over and die. I don't want to see Albert Hainsworth just decided I got my 90 mil and I'm just going to lay on the ground and be okay with it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I do think it means something. I mean, it would be more meaningful if it was the starters that weren't giving up instead of a bunch of substitutes, because half our players are on IR. But I do think that's worth mentioning. And people that want to fire all the coaches every time we have a losing season, it's like, yeah, if the players didn't respect Dan Quinn and Kingsbury and the other coaches and were clearly like not going out there and giving effort and not having any emotion, that would be one thing. But that's not what we've seen at all. So I just think that, I mean, I'm not a real big. I think Ron Rivera, he ended whatever culture stuff I never want to hear about culture again after Ron Rivera. Learning and growing, I don't want to hear it. But I do think the players respect the coaches, and they're still out there busting ass and fighting to try to win games, even when the talent level isn't what it needs to be. But
yeah,
and to that point, I think it. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
No, you're fine, Derek. You're fine. Go for it.
I was going to say, to that point, I think what I've always argued, and I've argued that the most important thing is that these guys want to win every down, every snap, every quarter, every play, every series, everything. I want that mentality. So this is what I've wanted from my team. And is Dan Quinn the guy to give that message? It seems that way, in my opinion. Is he perfect? No. He's got but when I watch my team go out there, they've already been eliminated from the playoffs. It's clear that we're not in contention. and they're fighting, and that means something because their expectation is that they're going to go out there and do their job enough to win that play and win that series and win that quarter and win that game. And that's all I want to see going forward. And it's not a moral victory in my mind, but it's something that is important to me see as we develop young players, especially when we're talking about guys like Jordan McGee, Ben Sinnott, Jalen Lane, who's out there getting his ankle tore up after he just had probably the two best games of his career. Not so much the Terry McLaurins of the world, but other guys like Treylon Burks, who's fighting for a potential long-term position with this team. So
we
and the
talked about
offensive line.
Burks while you were gone, so yeah.
Yeah, and then the offensive line. Brandon Coleman's out there, the quote-unquote castaway, the guy who couldn't support, and then Tunsil goes down, and Coleman, that's the guy that steps in and does his job because you know what? That's what's important. And they're not just punting a lost season. They're out there trying to win every game, every snap. That needs to be the message in the locker room. And then you let a guy like Adam Peters step in and say, hey, here's the conversation with Quinn that we need to look at long term. But your message still needs to be to every guy in that locker room. You go out there and you try to fight every matchup, everything you can do to make it happen. And you don't go down. You don't let anybody push you around. I don't care what the score is. I don't care what the record is. You go out there and you fight for your brothers. And that's a good message to have.
Listen to all this. I mean, there's another factor here. And I don't think anybody understands what it is to work in an industry with a short career better than professional athletes. They know that they don't have a big window. I'm in sales. If I don't have a great year this year, there's always next year. But anybody that watched Hard Knocks this week and watched what happened to Zach Ertz and his reaction to what happened in that Minnesota game can begin to understand how short an NFL career is. And Ertz has had a longer career than most, right? I mean, he's in his mid-30s. Most tight ends don't play this long. The guy's still playing at a high level. And good and well, his sitting on that ground, knowing more than likely what was wrong with his leg, all he could think of was, that was probably my last play. Yeah. And every single one of these guys, I don't care if they're 24 or 34, fully understands they are one play, one game, one season away from retiring and having to do something else. And I don't necessarily mean because of injury. We're fairly deep into the roster at this point in time. Some of these guys that are starting right now may not make this roster next year. And if they don't make
any roster next year.
Correct. That was where I was going, Derek. If they don't make our roster, does that mean they get picked up by somebody else? Not necessarily. Some of these guys are playing the final snaps of their NFL career, and none of them want those last snaps to be half-assed. They don't want the tape to be half-assed because half-assed tape just puts you behind the eight ball in terms of getting that next job if that's really what you want to do. And you sure don't want to go out of a game you loved thinking, oh, man, I could have played that harder. It's astounding to me when I hear people say that, these guys aren't trying. On top of that, some of the leadership on this team, I don't think they'd put up with guys half-assing. I don't want Bobby Wagner mad at me for whiffing on a tackle.
I don't even want Mikey Stanristel mad at me, man. Forget about Wagner.
No, man, because Mikey's willing to go after those 6'4", 350-pound offensive line guys. He is scared. He is not scared of anything.
Yeah.
It was great to see it, though. That's the kind of dog you want. That's a guy that he's a dog. Like, that's a dog. Right? He doesn't give a damn who you are, what you are, how tall you are, big and strong. He's not intimidated. He's going to stand up. And then, did I like to see guys get ejected? No. But to see a guy like Quan Martin come rushing over and saying, hey, that guy's bigger than my dude. I'm coming up there. I got his back. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I didn't question my decision. Same thing with Kinlaw. Kinlaw is the kind of guy he's a mountain mover, right? And that's the kind of guy that steps up in the bar and everybody just turns around and said, "Oh, yeah, nope. If I'm not on his side, I'm not involved." So to see that kind of a reaction and that kind of a fight, no, I don't want to see guys throwing punches. To be honest, if you go back and look at the tape, I don't know if the punches were actually thrown. I've seen a lot worse than
Yeah,
that,
I thought
but
that
I
was one of.
understand
I
they
thought
needed
that
to
was
keep
one
it
of
under
those things where
control.
they should have just let it go. It's a frustration boiling over, like you said. Just
Right.
go to the locker room, and I don't
Be
think it
done
really
with it.
required all that
What
attention.
was
But
that? With 5 minutes left or something?
yeah, it was pretty close to the end of the game.
I mean, everybody knew
But-
the only reason they went for 2 is because they didn't want to put the kicker back out there.
Yeah. Oh my God, what do you do with that situation? That's all.
I mean, I wasn't Sirianni trying to rub salt in anybody's wounds. He just didn't want to put the kicker back out there.
Because he had already been broken. He'd missed 3 kicks already, didn't he?
Yeah.
4 if you include
Yeah.
the one that with Tyler
I mean,
Tyler
he missed
Owens
the
jumping offside.
Yeah, he missed a twofer, right? I mean, that's really bad.
Yeah, he missed one of them
Exactly the same way. It's like hook left. Oh,
Yeah.
Kickers, man. So
And that's not
we
what
got a
you
game
that's
against
not what you
Dallas.
want heading into the playoffs.
We got a Dallas game. Do we? How
Yeah.
how excited are we to watch it on Christmas Day?
Yeah. I'll turn it on. I'm going to do the same thing this week that I did on Saturday, John. I'm going to be cooking Christmas dinner. I'm probably going to have some prime rib in the oven while that game's on. And I'm thinking around in the kitchen and doing some stuff and having a cocktail and,
So my question is, Dallas, I was looking at their stats for this season, and they are the second ranked offense. They're first in passing yards in the entire league, 17th in rushing yards. But it's just unbelievable to me that you can be that good on offense. And Dak's had a hell of he's having a pretty great year. He's throwing almost 70% completions, 28 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions. But God, man, their defense, it's amazing. It's almost like a mirror image, 30th, almost the bottom of the league in yards given up, almost the bottom of the league in points given up. And they're dead last in passing defense. So I guess it goes to show you. I guess defense really does win championships. I don't know because apparently having
time out.
in the league isn't enough.
well,
yeah, because go ahead, Bob.
Dallas has had a pretty good year, but that offense is not all right. That offense is really good when it's clicking, but it is susceptible to inconsistency, I guess would be the best way to put it. And they don't have a defense where they can squeak out a win if the offense only puts up 17 points. That defense will not keep anybody, hold anybody if the offense is only going to put up 17 points. They've had some injuries they've had to deal with. They're a much better offense. Like we are a much different offense with Terry McLaurin. They are a much different offense with CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens becomes an absolute weapon when CeeDee Lamb is on the field because no second cornerback in the league can play against him. And I'd say they effectively have 2 number 1 wide receivers.
Yeah.
And it's taken Pickens a little while to settle in and get comfortable in this offense. But the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, the dude's been, to steal a term from the soccer world, undroppable. He's on the field. He needs to be on the field all the time because he's just that good. And I don't know. I'm a little worried about what are we down to now? The 4th and 5th corner. What Hamilton was playing cornerback this weekend, or he was playing slot. What do we have? Jones and Sanristel on the outside and Hamilton in the slot, or I forget how it was, but I'm a little worried about those wide receivers against our cornerbacks, especially if we can't get any pressure on Prescott. If Prescott's got time, it's gonna be a long day at the office.
So here's to answer your question, John. going back through Dallas's schedule, you give up 24 to the Eagles in week 1, not a big deal. You give up 37 to the Giants. I don't think they've scored 37 points in another game this entire season. You give up 31 to the Bears, who now look for real. You give up 40 to the Packers. You give up 22 to the Jets, who might be one of the worst teams in the league. You give up 30 to the Panthers, who are a sneaky good team now that they're leading their division. You give up 44 to the Broncos. You give up 27 to the Cardinals, another terrible offense. You give up, as we go down here, 44 to the Lions, 34 to the Vikings, 34 to the Chargers. I mean, there's a lot of defensive flux there. And
Yeah.
I don't care how good your offense is. You can't average 35 points a game, man. That's just not even a thing in the NFL.
And you come off 3 wins in the second half of the season that puts you in position to grab one of those wild cards or even possibly catch the Eagles. And then you lose 3 straight to now Lions are a very good team. Vikings can be good at times, and the Chargers are kind of, somewhere in there. But that just makes me feel warm inside. We're not able to do anything when it was right there for the taking.
Yeah, against premium teams. Yeah.
So, but I expect them to feast on us and the Giants 2 weeks in a row. And the main thing is that, look, man, I don't know how it's unfair to expect anything out of a third string quarterback, even one who's had a lot of experience like Josh Johnson. Yeah. But he looked really shaky out there to me. And yes. I don't predict good things on Christmas Day.
It's hard to predict that. It's hard to look at it realistically and say
that whether their defense is awful or not. I don't think it's going to matter. But who knows, man?
But you could,
because like you said, they're fighting.
That could be that could be the difference between Josh Johnson putting up 16 and putting up 20, 25, right? Like, you're probably still not going to outrun their offense. Even if you're going to have to chase 30 to even have a conversation, in my opinion, with that offense. But then again, they have nothing to play for.
He won a game for us way back when, I believe, right? Josh Johnson, didn't he come in and win?
Yeah, but that was way back when. That wasn't now. But their offense is, they have nothing to play for at this point. Their season is over. They're not going to make the playoffs. So then the question becomes, what are they even playing for? And then maybe it comes down to our locker room hasn't quit. Their locker room has, because I don't think anybody looks at their culture like it's some sort of, enviable situation. I mean, you look at guys like George Pickens. Pickens might think he should be the number one and screw CD Lamb and all that, but who knows? But I don't know. Do we even want to do predictions? I think John pretty much said what he thinks. Bob probably, I think we all agree that if they come to play, their offense has got enough firepower to beat us in any way, shape, or form. It's going to depend on what team shows up.
Yeah, if they show up, if Dallas shows up, the question is whether or not this is that first game after getting kicked in the teeth when you find out you don't get to go to the postseason. It's entirely possible they're down, right? And if
it's not entirely possible, it's probably likely at this point.
And if they're down and they're playing in Washington, they got to fly up there. It's on Christmas Day. I tell you what, I can't imagine a worse situation. You just missed out on the playoffs. Now you got to go spend Christmas away from your family in the city of a bitter rival who's not having a great year, admittedly. I mean, maybe you go in there and decide you want to take your frustrations out on them, but maybe you go in there and lay a goose egg too.
And you decide you don't even want to be there at that point.
You don't want to be there, and you just don't do well. So I don't give us no chance. I think we have a shot at winning this game. I mean, I wasn't sure we were going to beat New York the other day, and we did. And we came damn near beating, a very good Denver team at home. If we come out and play the same game against the Cowboys that we played against Denver, we're going to be in this football game into the fourth quarter. But we've got to play with that same level of intensity, that same level of concentration, that same level of everything. The problem is, Josh Johnson's not Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is not Jaden Daniels. I mean, then it starts right there, doesn't it? It really starts right there. So I guess a lot of it's going to depend on what kind of, magic fairy dust Cliff Kingsbury has on a short week to get Josh Johnson.
I'll give you the tell, Bob. I'll give you the tell in the game whether we're going to have a chance or not. Because what's not going to give us a chance is what Kingsbury is going to probably lean towards, which is pounding the football over and over again. Because he doesn't trust Josh Johnson back there. I think if we do that, we'd lose, even though their rushing defense is not anywhere near as bad as their passing defense is. But I just think that's a recipe for a loss but I think if we come into the game and let's just say in the first quarter, we see it at least 50% passing attempts, then I think we have a chance. Assuming that Johnson doesn't throw 3 picks, But I think if we just come into the game and say our strength is our running attack and we don't even attempt to go downfield with the ball because of who's under center, I think they're gonna eat us for lunch.
Oh yeah, no, you're not wrong. They're gonna pull that extra man up into the box and they're gonna deliver a Christmas present. That's what they're gonna do. So I don't disagree with any of that.
Well, fellas, I think that the best way to go into this right now is to not look at it like the loss is going to ruin Christmas, because it's a win-win. If we win, we beat Dallas. If we lose, we get a better draft pick. That's me rationalizing and compartmentalizing. I would still like to beat that stupid ass star, those damn colors. I don't think I could ever be happy losing to that team.
Yeah, I look at it the complete opposite, man. My mindset is we win if we lose because we're improving that draft position. But if unfortunately we pull out a win somehow, well, it's Dallas. I mean, it's still a good.
That's basically what I was saying. But anyway,
beating Dallas is never a bad thing.
No, it's not. Even if it means nothing towards anything, because we're not playing spoiler. You know what I mean? It doesn't help us at all. But let's just go out there and kick some ass and have some fun doing it.
All right, amen.
But, as always, boys, it's been a pleasure. If you made,
got to say Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah to all of our.
Absolutely, happy holidays. We already said Merry Christmas, so we appreciate everybody. If you've been around this long, hook us up with that like, share, and a follow. Please leave comments. Jump on the board, bgobsession.com. We always have a thread dedicated to the podcast, so jump into the conversation. Let us know. Give us feedback. Tell Bobby needs to button up the top button on his shirt. It's all good. Any constructive criticism, we appreciate it. But as things go along, we appreciate you and hook us up with all of it. We enjoy it. Join the conversation. You can find us on all major audio platforms, all major socials, and of course at the mothership, bgobsession.com. And pigs are